reports have emerged on attacks against foreign nationals in some parts of the country. The most recent has been violence against informal traders in Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. So could we be seeing a resurgence of violence, that violence that gripped the nation about a decade ago now? For more, we're joined now by Yasmin Rajah, who is the Director of Refugee Social Services. Yasmin, a very good morning to you. Certainly very, very worrying, these reports that are coming out of Durban. What do you make of it?
Well, it is very, very concerning. Just to clarify, the resurgence of violence hasn't begun in this week or last week, as reports might suggest, but started around November of last year. We saw violence happening in the streets of Durban, around the workshop flea market areas where most of the foreign traders actually trade from. There were attacks in November, in December, and January, and again from about the end of February, going on from around the 28th up until, well, it's continuing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it seems to be a little bit more organized than previously. So it is very, very concerning. The violence seems to be more organized. It seems to be more sustained. And what is really worrying is that the police and the people that are tasked with protecting the citizens, foreign and otherwise, haven't really been taking decisive action against the perpetrators, who I think are well known in and around Durban.
You talk about these attacks being more organized, more sustained. You also talk about them emerging sort of from November of last year. Is this a case of perhaps intimidations, these sporadic attacks aimed at being something that's meant to intimidate?
Yes, it is. Well, it's harassment, it's intimidation. It's actually almost a hijacking of livelihood. So there seems to be a sustained attack against foreign nationals earning a livelihood in the city. If you understand how most of the foreigners are, well, not most of the foreigners, but the foreigners that are being attacked actually make a living, it's through trading on the streets or having little shops in and around the CBD. And basically what has been happening is that the perpetrators have been coming around and telling them, stop trading. We're going, like they usually give them a small warning to say, stop trading here. And what we've seen is that, well, what the traders have told us is that they come and loot the next day, and they sort of chase you away from your trading site and then patrol around it and put in South Africans on those sites. Now, a lot of the sites are actually controlled by, well, they're supposed to be operated by the eThekwini municipality. So the traders actually get permits, they pay for, pay regularly to actually trade in those spots. And this group, who we believe or have said that they're a fraction of the MKMVA, and have actually been taking over these sites. There's been reports of extortion where occasionally they've come and taken, like in the last month or so, had been, before the attacks last week Sunday, were extorting 20 Rand from each of the traders. And then on Sunday last week, they came around and looted and asked people to leave, and there was lots of violence. And then that violence continued around the streets in Durban. And we've heard the same story over and over again, that you get a warning, and then if you don't move from there, there's extreme violence.
I mean, Yasmin, is it fair to say that these attacks, it would be dangerous to attribute them to a resurgence in xenophobic attacks, when what it sounds like is, the age-old picture of gangs using something like xenophobia to, as you say, extort these businesses that are trying to make an honest living?
Yeah, it's a mix, I suppose, because what is very evident is that it's targeting only foreign nationals at the moment. I haven't heard of South Africans actually being targeted, except for in November, where they targeted South Africans that they knew were in relationships with foreign nationals. But yes, there's a huge amount of criminality, and there seems to be some sort of political, how to say, foreign nationals and traders are being used as for political leverage as well. The conflicts that are happening currently in the country seem to be playing out on the streets of Durban as well.
So in terms of the work that you do as Refugee Social Services, in tandem, I suppose, with the UN's Refugee Agency, what's the kind of assistance that you are able to provide in a situation like this?
So over the years, when there's been crisis, our work generally is not to work only in crises, but our work generally is to assist newly arrived asylum seekers and refugees to sort of integrate into South African society, especially as, the country has given people the opportunity, those that are forced to flee, the opportunity to seek refuge in our country. So government gives these refugees enabling documents, and we as an organization assist where we can, especially those who have nothing. So we basically do trauma counseling. We do limited time limited sort of assistance to help people sort out accommodation and food, but it's very, very time limited. Now, in situations like this, we require more resources to actually help people to survive, to pay their rents, to buy their food and stuff like that. Because when somebody comes in, they need to earn their own living. South Africa doesn't provide them with a grant or with accommodation or food and stuff like that. And that's where we normally come in, assisting around basic survival needs, doing the trauma counseling. You have to remember that a lot of the people that are being affected currently have come from violence in their own countries. They've experienced violence, they've experienced trauma, they've sought refuge in South Africa, and here this has been like sort of a re-traumatization and a resurgence of violence. So sometimes it actually affects people a lot more than it would maybe normally affect. I think anybody would be traumatized if they've been harassed and violently ejected from their livelihoods. I think there's a lot of stresses that are occurring currently with the community. So in this particular instance, we're actually in a phase where we're not really able to we're able to provide the trauma counseling and stuff and some limited assistance, but we haven't been able to secure emergency resources to help with the humanitarian situation that has arose, and especially after COVID, and the needs within all of the communities, and particularly the foreign national community, who were largely sort of excluded from all of the relief measures that were put by government. This added trauma of not being able to earn your livelihood has impacted quite a bit on the people that have been affected.
Yeah.
But more than that, it's impacted on organizations like ours, because we've had budget slashes, and we're currently trying to organize resources so that we can help. What little we have, we're already providing to those that have been affected.
Yes.
On another level, we've been advocating with the UN Refugee Agency, as a sector, with the municipality, Human Rights Commission, and all of the people that are tasked with actually providing protection. So in this last week, I must say there has been a heightened, there has been heightened police visibility. I'm not sure that it's going to stop the attacks, though.
Yasmin, incredibly worrying indeed. Yasmin Rajah is a Refugee Social Services Director. Worrying reports coming out of Durban, and they are not new, from November last year, of attacks on traders in the CBD. That's a developing story. We can